Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. This is my weekly compendium of case reports between the 9th to the 14th of June 2021. Case files number 154 to 159. Case file number 154, written by Tomato Ketchup. Her father passed away suddenly, yet somehow after his passing, he had conversations with his friends. My father was a very friendly person. He had a ton of friends. It was hard to keep record of who he spoke to. He also traveled a lot due to his work. He was also very strong and had no severe health issues. However, when I was 10, he died. It was very sudden. We informed as many people as we could. One day, an old colleague of my father ran into my mom. She hardly recognized him. They spoke and he said, "I met your husband just a few weeks ago." It was already 2 years since my father's death, and he didn't know my father was dead because he was away for years and had only come to visit his mom. He also said that they had a long conversation and also ended up having coffee together. This happened again, this time with one of my mom's old students in his late 20s. He used to be a child when he used to come over to my house to get tutored. My mother used to help him in math and English. My father used to give him snacks after he studied and play with him too. He didn't know my father was already dead and told my mom how he met my father about a month ago and they spoke for a really long time. This still happened like 2 other times and then all quiet. It hasn't happened in a long time now. Case notes, file number 154. So this reminds me of an old episode of Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, with Jonathan Frakes as the host. In the story, a man receives a call from his wife and his daughter too. She seemed a bit rushed, tells them to meet her at a restaurant they went to when they first met. Only at the time she called, she had already passed away. I think there's a truth to this, many recountings of loved ones speaking to them or their friends even after they died. Your story is even more pronounced though, since apparently these friends met your father physically by the sounds of it. I wonder to what extent was he even interacting with physical matter, able to touch them? Interesting. Case file number 155, written by DeFeola, 18. Dorm rooms are safe. Well, they're supposed to be. An invader? A spirit? You be the judge. This all happened one night back in the winter of 2016. It was December and I was still in my dorm before going home for the holiday break. My building is like a motel where the hallways are on the outside, so it's all balcony. There's only one door separating our room from the outside world, and it's a thick metal external door, only accessible with a keycard pass that doubles as a student ID. I don't remember exactly the day, but I know it was my last night staying in my dorm before taking a plane home. The one and only night where I'd be alone, since my roommate left earlier that day. It was just like any other night with me using my piece in the bathroom and watching a TV show or playing Xbox. I ordered some food and got ready to go to bed at around 11. I got a calzone delivered and that was the last time the door opened and closed. I remember it specifically, vividly. For some reason, I needed my headphones on. The speakers from my laptop wouldn't be enough for the night, so before the food came, I had them on. I knew in 15 minutes I'd have to listen for a knock. The time comes and I didn't hear it at first, so the guy starts really banging on my door. Now my anxiety kinda takes off, thinking he's been waiting so long, and now I'm about to pay in quarters. Either way, I'm a little high, so I feel bad inconveniencing someone else because of my habit. I use a certain common substance pretty liberally, but I didn't drink that night and didn't get any higher than I would when my roommates were there to partake with me. Either way, I'm completely cognizant, conscious, and attentive when I have a little buzz going. So I know when the man left, I closed the door and heard it locked. You can't miss hearing a hotel-style exterior door close and click secure. I knew it was the last time it would be open for the night, and since it was only me, I definitely made sure it was locked in place. The campus was very quiet, since most people have already gone home. A perfect time to get some much-needed sleep. I slowly opened my eyes a little after 2 a.m. The way I'm positioned on my bed, I have a clear view of the door and the window. My bed also happens to be the one closest to the door, so I was just a couple feet from it. Anyways, I blink a bunch of times and realize there's light coming through the door, which is now ajar. It cracked the smallest amount, and the bright yellow light outside was coming in. The only other person with access to my room is our RA, who is asleep since it's the middle of the night. My heart starts beating faster. I sit up in bed aghast at what I'm seeing. I keep thinking in my head, faster each time if I'm still dreaming. But no, I'm definitely awake and this is real life. Without making a sound, the door slowly opens about a foot. Now more light is pouring in and I'm sweating and shaking. What the fuck is going on? I haven't a clue. The door stops opening at about 18 inches from the frame. I can't see anything standing there or hear anyone. My initial thought is something must already be in my room. I'm kind of paralyzed, breathing super heavy through my nose. I don't know what my course of action should be. What felt like 5 minutes was probably closer to 1.5. But during that time I heard nothing, just a yellow light coming into my room. Then the door begins to close, slowly, but then swiftly. It goes over the threshold and into the frame without making a sound. Now I'm convinced I'm still asleep, but I have a hard time rationalizing it. I'm sweating and shaking even more now that I witness my door closing by itself. If it was wind, I would have heard it click into place, but something turned it so it would make the least amount of noise possible. Either way, now it's closed, and I'm faced with the possibilities of what's in here with me. My dorm room is connected to a bathroom, which is connected to another dorm room. Our suite mates have gone home as well, so it was only me and 3 dark rooms to explore. I never made it to the bathroom or our suite mates. But I do eventually get out of my bed and search our room. Somehow I feel ready to go see something, but nothing's there. I take a drink of water and get back in bed. I'm still scared and shaken. My mind can't stop running, and I don't think I'll be able to fall back asleep before the morning. But somehow, in about 25 or 30 minutes, I'm able to doze off again and feel safe. In the morning, things were the same as they always have been. Still crazy and still convinced I was awake the whole time. I want to visit the astral realm, but never really tried to. I have had sleep paralysis, maybe a handful of times throughout my life, but this was nothing like that. Either way, maybe some of you could shed some light on this, because my friends and family have been dead ends and don't want to discuss it, which I can understand. Case notes, file number 155. So my first instinct here is more of the mundane, that someone just tried to break in. A common thief. I'm not certain though, given the delay of a couple minutes before the door closed. You'd have heard something if whoever it was rummaging through your stuff before closing the door. And I assume nothing was taken. It also doesn't sound like the type of door that would be easily lockpicked. Outside of the mundane, I've heard of tricksters doing this to instill fear into people, but never hurt them directly. If that's the case, it seems they were successful. The author responded to my comment, saying, "Yeah, the keycard to access our room was only possessed by myself and my roommate, who was out of state and I was on great terms with. The RA was a no-nonsense woman who doesn't come across as someone to play a prank, but herself and the other RAs would have a master key, so I can't think of a reason why any of them would want to prank me, but you still can't rule it out, I guess. Convention would suggest it was simply a trickster having his or her fun, but yeah, nothing was taken, so as unlikely as that is, that I was randomly targeted by someone who knew how to create a fake keycard for those dorms, it does seem equally unlikely that it was something paranormal. Although it's hard to rule either of them out." And then I responded briefly, "I'm glad you're okay, but yeah, I think we can break it down to either a really weird prank by the RA, or a trickster spirit effectively trolling you. It's a weird night, no matter which is the truth." Case file number 156, written by That Guy 9426. A forested home that was, and then wasn't. This happened several years ago when my friend and I were in high school. We would always hang out either at his house or mine. We happened to be at his house that day. He lived in a pretty normal suburban neighborhood, with about a mile of woods behind his house separating his neighborhood and another one. We liked to go back there and explore the woods every now and then, instead of staying inside and gaming. One of the times we were exploring for a while, kind of just circling the woods. After walking around for about an hour or so, just chatting and messing around, we came across a seemingly random house right in the middle of a big clearing. We'd been in these woods several times before, but never saw this house. We figured we must just have never come this way before. We moved closer to investigate, and the place is basically destroyed. It's a single-story house. There's a big hole in the backside of the house that looks like it was hit by a wrecking ball. We enter from there, and the inside is no different. Old, torn-up furniture, walls, and floors make up the inside. At the time, my friend and I were fascinated more than anything, making theories and jokes to each other about what the history of this strange house could have been. At one point, we thought it might have been owned by some kind of serial killer because it had several newspapers scattered around with a lot of missing persons reports on them. Again, being dumb kids, we somehow found this more amusing than anything, as if this place had been put there as some sort of haunted house destination for Halloween. Anyway, after further exploration of this house, we found what looked like a hatch on the floor that may have led to some kind of cellar or bomb shelter. It had a lock on it that we couldn't bust open because as brain-dead teenagers, we wanted to go down there and explore some more. After a few more attempts to get this hatch open, we decided to head back to his house and get some bolt cutters. We get back to his house, grab the tool, and head back to where we came from. We had made our way back in the direction we thought the house to be in, but we never found our way back there. We thought maybe we had just gotten turned around, but we followed a pretty distinctive path back. We spent maybe another couple hours combing that small stretch of woods for the house, to no avail. A little weirded out, but we gave up. Headed back and didn't really give it too much more thought, beyond a couple internet searches for anything that may have been related to a house in the woods in that area, but nothing came up. Years later, my buddy and I are both married. Neither one of our wives believe our story. His wife even got on Google Earth and searched the area behind his old house. She found nothing. Anyone have any theories on what could have happened to the house? Before you ask, no, neither of us did any kind of drugs. We were pretty straight and narrow kids. Case notes, file number 156. You know what vibe I get from this, and other mysterious locations in the woods or mountains. One story I had read where there was a hotel along a less traveled route, very fancy. But the person who decided to stay there woke up in the morning and it had morphed into this decrepit, decaying hotel overnight. I think it's likely the developers of this simulation threw a wrench into our normal everyday experience. It might even be an intentional tactic to guide us along a certain path we need to go down, or maybe that we wanted to when we signed up to play this hardcore MMORPG. That might just be my own bias though. I love that idea. The author briefly responded to my comment, saying, "Yeah, the simulation theory has always intrigued me. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel, but maybe we'll get there." And I responded briefly as well, saying, "Have you checked out the newest Unreal 5 engine tech demo? My god, the graphical fidelity in that, and even the ability to dynamically program animations to match with the environments. The amount of scenarios and details that can be programmed in with this is just mind-boggling. So imagine where we'll be in 10 years. I think the idea of the Matrix, or a simulation of that type, minus the robot overlords, I think that's entirely possible, and I think we'll probably see that, or something similar, within the next 50 years, maybe less. Case file number 157, written by Skyrim Babe 23. Her apartment clearly doesn't want her there anymore. The clock just hit midnight, and I don't think I'll be able to sleep tonight with what happened. I'm normally pretty skeptical, but I just feel like this isn't something I can debunk. I need to know what to do to feel more safe, because I think the spirit here isn't friendly. I think it's all related to the apartment I currently live in, because I've never had paranormal stuff happen to me before. Thankfully, I'm moving out in a month. I've been living here for 2 years now. The first red flag. The only thing the previous owners left me was a Ouija board, hidden in our bedroom closet. When I found it, I had bad vibes, and had to put it on my balcony so it was outside the place. After that, I felt watched at night and had trouble sleeping. Then things got back to normal, until the last few weeks. First, I was all alone doing some cleaning, and the light bulb in my kitchen completely exploded, leaving shattered glass all over the floor. Right after, there was a big bang on my fridge, like someone just hit it. Then, I thought I heard something like a faucet running in my bathroom. I was already scared, so I walked super slowly to it. And then my bedroom door, right next to the bathroom, slammed itself, making an awfully loud sound. I was terrified and went to my mom's house for the rest of the day. I tried to tell myself that the light bulb just shorted out, and maybe a breeze from the open window made that noise. But it wasn't even windy that day. It doesn't make sense. I've had trouble sleeping. Random objects found on the floor, and I blamed it on my cat. Until last week, I heard something wiggling an object and throwing it on the floor. I said my cat's name out loud to ground her, before I realized she was right next to me. And then, 2 days ago, my long mirror fell. On my bed, it didn't break. It's a pretty lightweight mirror that I just lean on my bedroom's wall. I found it weird, but also it could have been the wind or something. But what just happened tells me it wasn't a coincidence. I was watching a horror movie for the first time in months tonight. I was really scared. All the lights were off. During the middle of the movie, I saw what looked like a shadow in my living room mirror. I brushed it off because I'm just too anxious. And then, boom. Before the end of the movie, the living room mirror that's been hanging there for 2 years decides to fall off. No open windows, no nothing. I'm surprised it didn't break, honestly. It was a pretty big fall. On top of that, my cat is freaking out and staring at some stuff I don't see. I'm just so uneasy now. I heard mirrors were like portals, so I took the 2 that fell and hid them, facing the floor. I don't have sage to clear out the energy. What do I do to make this thing go away, to be safe? I know I only have a month here left, but still, this is too much to handle. Please help me if you have a tip. Case notes, file number 157. So mirrors are less like portals, more of a revelation tool. They show who the person truly is, a reflection of their soul. But they can also be conduits for souls, channeling them, intensifying them. I'm just glad you'll be out of the apartment soon. Case file number 158, written by charming janitor XXX. They're teenagers and bored. Following this creepy group was exciting, but as they were soon to find out, it was extremely risky. Yes, this will sound strange. Yes, this will seem utterly unbelievable, but I was there with my friends. To this day, whenever it's brought up, it's so odd that we all just agree we'll never know or understand what happened. 22 years ago on Halloween, my high school girlfriend, myself, and 2 friends were driving around. I was the first one with a car. We always were depressed 90s kids that would listen to the Smiths or goth rock, and before we could drive, we'd meet up at the graveyard and hang out. So it's Halloween. Couldn't have been past 9 p.m. I drive into the graveyard, which is sprawling. Lots of mausoleums and graves, and a big patch of land way in the back with hills and not much else. This was the scariest part of the graveyard, probably because it was secluded and away from the street and headlights of cars. We drive and see the usual graves. My girlfriend says we should drive all the way in the back, which we do. But then, as the car crests this one hill, we see candles and obviously people, but they all have animal masks on. They all immediately start running to their cars, but not in fear. I couldn't see anyone's face, but everyone was wearing black. They seemed excited, not afraid. I lock our doors. We watch them get in their cars, about 7 in total. Being dumb and bored, we decided to follow them. We think it'll be hilarious to follow them. Where are they going? Is there a cult? Who cares? We were bored teenagers. As we follow them, they begin to head out further to a place called Burnt Store Road. The street name is self-explanatory. There was a store once, and it burned down. Now the scary thing is, we were all laughing and starting to get creeped out. We're getting more into a desolate area with no streetlights. No houses were even out there at the time. As we're following the cars, we see the one furthest up ahead turn on their left blinker. Blink, blink. But then every car turned on their left blinker in perfect time with the other car. First car turns on blinker, and before it can even blink 3 times, the next car has theirs on. What was weird is that all the blinkers synced up perfectly, and then we all stopped laughing. We're still following. We take a side road that goes who the hell knows where. The music is turned down, and now we're discussing just turning around. The feeling in the air was just ominous, quite suddenly. We follow them for another mile, with all their blinkers still synced up perfectly, and they begin driving up this, not a hill, but a very large constructed, almost sand dune looking thing. This was a time where the land was being dug up to make a river or something. I stopped the car. I decided this is all just too weird and we don't want to see what's on the hill, with this weird fucking circus of clown cars with all their blinkers going. We turn around and begin going the way we came from, which is still miles and miles of nothing. No streetlights, no house lights, not even lines for lanes in the road. The miles tick by and our mood lightens. We start laughing and playing music again. As a joke, I flick off my high beams because I'm an idiot. My girlfriend finally has enough and yells to turn the lights back on. The first thing we see is a very large old clawfoot bathtub directly blocking our path, taking up what would be 2 lanes of road. That tub wasn't there the first time we drove out, and there was only one way in or out for us to get where we were going. We get out of the car. Nothing is funny anymore. We move the tub with a lot of effort off the road. If a car hit it, it would be an absolute disaster. We all got home safely, but were those animal masked people baiting us? Did they purposefully just wait for people to find them and then have someone place the tub there? And the blinker synchronization was just so odd, along with this giant-like hill those cars were so swiftly driving up. Case notes, file number 158. This just screams of either a cult or just an organized kidnapping scheme. That kind of synchronization on their blinker lights is actually no joke. Give it a try. Try coordinating anything, even with a group of friends you've known for a long time. It's hard. It takes intense, dedicated practice. So that's a small detail that means a lot. As for the bathtub, my guess is there was a group behind you that planted it there, and probably had more than one to guarantee you couldn't escape in time. The fact you turned around when you did wasn't part of the scheme. Well, that's my guess anyways. It certainly gives off of occult vibes. There are crazy people out there, so I'm glad you guys were safe after all. Case file number 159, written by Fool Temptress, a dog in great hunger with a dash of vanishment. I have several small dogs. They all get fed in the master bathroom at home, but one of them in particular, an adorably fat Chiweenie named Luna, gets put in my closet to eat so she doesn't bully the other dogs out of their food. She isn't very happy that she's on a diet and will gladly starve the other dogs to appease her endless appetite. One morning when I went to put her carefully measured kibble into her bowl, which again is in the closet, she was there, eagerly dancing around my legs, but I noticed that her dog bowl was gone. Thinking maybe she moved it from its usual spot after I fed her the night before, I looked everywhere in the closet, under the low-hanging clothes, anywhere she might have hidden it. Nothing. It was just gone. Having no other choice at the moment, since Luna would be most distressed if there was even a slight delay in her getting her breakfast, I put her kibble on the carpet in the closet so she could still eat now, and made a mental note to get her another bowl. Doggy dinner time rolls around. I have a new bowl and another carefully measured scoop of kibble. I open the closet to feed her, and there is her dog bowl. The original one, exactly where it usually is, where it's supposed to be, like it hadn't just returned from some otherworldly jaunt. While admittedly, this is minor compared to some of the posts on here, this sort of thing is happening a lot since I moved into my current property. Things are constantly disappearing, although not all of them reappear. I know where I live to be Native American territory, and I just discovered I'm near a ley line. Maybe that's why? Case notes, file number 159. So of course my first thought as I was reading this is that Luna just hid the bowl spectacularly well. But it doesn't really make sense since you checked thoroughly. and the bowl was back in place later on, exactly where it's supposed to be. It wouldn't be a typical dog behavior to just hide it and then bring it back exactly where it's supposed to be. This is cool though, it's in my wheelhouse of glitches. For that reason, vanishing objects are fascinating to me, especially when they return. I'm still waiting for my damn ball to fall back to Earth from wherever it went. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and leave any thoughts you might have down below. I always like knowing what you guys think too.